If you go into that cave, I can't save you anymore. Fear whispers in your ear. To put it lightly, fear is your worst friend. When you think about it, the human brain is the world's deadliest double-edged sword because it can harm everything, including itself. Fear is identified as the belief that something or someone might harm you, likely the consequence of being pain or death. Horror is the genre in the storytelling world that has instrumentalized the concept by telling stories of the protagonist looking into the pitch-dark cave and walking forward. When I was in drama class, I learned that horror is when a familiar person, place, or thing has been distorted into something strange or unfathomable from its previous state. What better popular psychological example to illustrate this directly than the uncanny valley? A phenomenon where the human brain can look at the subject and determine whether it is human or a humanoid entity. This is a mentally unsettling feeling introduced by a Japanese roboticist in 1970. This was during the creation of robotic humans that we would usually see in clips on YouTube. This is to hypothesize that a human being can feel negative emotional unease towards anthropomorphic features to an object. With that being said, fear and horror can be mistaken for each other, but they are two distinctive words that leave a clear distinction between their definitions, yet both interdependent in creating a strong emotional response. You can't create horror while being ignorant of the concept of fear. Horror as a concept might look casually simple, but the themes can tell a dark and brutal tale of humanity. Where you can create authenticity depends on what you have experienced and what you allowed into your work. What you could ask is, what experience could create fear and therefore create horror? I have a story for that. In the city of New York, summer was around the corner, but that does not mean it arrived. So everyone was still in school. I was in the middle school backyard with the back concrete ground and the limiting fences that surrounded and condescended my immature size. To add insult to injury, the yard was no bigger than a house and a half, so there was not much to do besides talk with friends or look at the sky. I did not have any friends, so the latter was my only option. It's not like the children were bullies to me, but I was not like most middle schoolers, though at the time I thought it was hard to tell why. The point is, I had nothing in common with them, but I thought they were not bad children. I would sometimes look at the grass that ironically lay beyond the fence, stretching no farther than the width of the sidewalk. It made no sense how grass that green could reside in a concrete jungle like this. The green grass was not part of the yard area, and yet I only found comfort in staring and playing with the grass blades that reached out for me through the fence. This was my routine every single day. But one day, this routine was interrupted. As usual, when recess began, I would go to the ends of the fence just to play with stray grass. However, my eyes just so happened to have glided beyond the grass from the fence to the sidewalk across. From there, I see an old man lying on the sidewalk with crimson oozing out of his skull. I did not get the chance to process the sudden violence in front of me, and within a nanosecond I thought it was my silly imagination. The isolation must have gotten to me, I thought. Then I heard a classmate shouting that an old man is bleeding outside. They stampeded towards my side of the fence, rushing to see the horror show. I still have not processed my shock. Outside of my vision, I heard a student laugh. Then another laughed at him. Suddenly, the whole school roster laughed at the poor man. All of them, even the students who I thought were good. My lips remained tight. I was overstimulated, but a question managed to rise out of my consciousness. Am I supposed to laugh? I thought students my age would be more empathetic and know better than to even chuckle at the sight of vulnerability. But today, that proved to be a delusion. What am I missing here?
I grinned. Not laughed, but I forced a grin. Eventually, the adults were notified immediately, and the old man was treated. To what I found fearful in this memory, I did feel fearful, but it was not from the feeling of being left out or the man lying there. It was my classmates' cruelty. Kids can be cruel. I couldn't fathom why this was possibly funny to them. I couldn't fathom the social cue that would deliberately identify this situation as humorous. And even now, I don't get why I forced myself to join in. The most disturbing thing about this memory was how I thought I was wrong for not laughing, and that I had to correct myself. But I want you to take in what a resemblance of fear came from this story. The fear of the revelation. The many stories that he tells argues that there is a consequence to knowledge and a peaceful gift from blissful ignorance. That we are better off dead than knowing the truth. We humans discover things every day and declare that things are not real because the scientist on TV said so. But in contradiction to that belief, we acknowledge that the universe is so vast and spacious that there is no telling what is real out there. How I interpreted my story is that I've come to the realization, the shocking, terrifying realization about my classmates, that I have felt tainted my feelings about the capacity of the human race's lack of empathy. We might be young once, but some learning experiences never leave your side, no matter how much you want to forget. Do you see that stovetop in front of you? Go ahead and touch it. See where your curiosity takes you. Do you remember now? That was the day you swore never to do that again. What makes us scared might not always be the outside of human understanding or tentacled beings, but what has happened before. This subconscious neural learning pattern in the brain is a discharge of fear that has taught our brain that this thing has hurt us before. This source of pain may be a person, place, thing, or idea that has harmed us in the past. While the fear of the unknown comes from the avoidance of the unpredictable, some things are scary because they are predictable. The outcome is identified, but the consequences stay the same and have proven to be too great to handle or confront. Therefore, our brain protects us by having us avoid it altogether, at all cost. But with it, the clawing, scratching of guilt leaves great scars in your consciousness, bleeding into your reality. The loneliness of confronting the conflict by yourself, because it is a conflict only you have the power to resolve. An invisible enemy from within, built by you. This is what we call trauma. This is a mainstream trope of the horror story. It ties to the most vulnerable side of the human, what caused them great pain before, and uses that against them. For a horror story to do that is like someone taking off your armor and slapping you with it. The themes of the traumatic mind proves to be very attractive to the horror antagonist from within the story because it is an opportunity for mass control. Trauma can be the best weapon and the most exploitable mental state, and could come from all categories that make up your very being. On top of that, many trauma experiences lead to responsive styles that are either common or unique. This can be determined by who you are as a person and your background, because we are sentient beings with our thoughts and emotions. Therefore, the experience is going to be different for everyone. We usually associate heavy traumatic behavior with PTSD, having you interpret your surroundings as anything but peaceful. At least for a horror antagonist with a machete and a scary mask, The protagonist could run across the halls until they could find a closet to hide in until the threat is gone. For trauma, it is not only relentless and intrusive, but it never leaves your side, no matter where you hide or how safe you are, forcing you to relive your worst memories. It means your future is to be a prisoner of your past. It means never finding happiness, because that is associated with painful emotions, and it could most likely be the cause of your downfall. For a neurological mechanism that is so overly protective of its being, the human mind is the true villain of the story.